Hey everybody, Tommy here with a really fun one for you today because Mercedes has flown me out to beautiful Stuttgart, Germany to check out the new 2023 all-wheel drive Sprinter. That's right, all-wheel drive, not four-wheel drive. So for 2023, the Sprinter has gone through a number of improvements, and in this video we're going to tell you all about it, take it for a drive on-road and off-road here at a German off-road park. How cool is that? All right, let's hop right in. Alright guys, so I am in the new all-wheel drive Sprinter, and this vehicle is substantially different than the outgoing four-wheel drive. So they've eliminated the transfer case. So this no longer has a low range, it's high range only. However, it now has a 9G transmission, which means it's a 9-speed transmission, which is significantly more gears than the outgoing model. I'm told that the first gear ratio is about 25% shorter than the old one, and it's comparable to the old one in low range when you go into first gear. So we'll see how it performs. Now, unfortunately, we have really loose and wet conditions out here today, and we're on snow tires. Is that right?
Yes, snow tires.
Yeah, snow tires, so probably not ideal, but one of the big differences I noticed right off the bat, in the old Sprinter with the V6 turbo diesel, if you were in high range, there was very little torque delivery from a low RPM. But with this new 9G, especially in first gear, even going up some of these smaller hills where the old one would have struggled in high range, this one is having no issues whatsoever. And we'll try a little test here backing up this hill, which I'm excited to test out. Now this is a cool configuration of the Sprinter, and this configuration is super popular in Europe. You can actually buy a truck like this in the States, but it's very uncommon. This is what we call a chassis cab. So this would be sold with the cab, the drivetrain, the engine, the interior, but then just a blank chassis in the rear, and then you can outfit it with whatever you want. And this is super common in Europe to see what is essentially this flatbed style box. The sides come down, but I think a lot of contractors out in the States, a lot of folks that use their vehicle for construction would love a configuration like this and should buy a configuration like this because of the sheer amount of space you get. So the overall footprint on this vehicle is really no bigger than a full-size truck. The amount of space you get per dollar in the rear is truly incredible. The payload capacity on the Sprinter chassis cab with the turbo diesel is over 6,000 pounds, which is just insane. Towing capacity right around 7,500, so certainly less than a lot of full-size trucks sold today here in the US. And for US markets, you can only get it in the single cab, it's worth noting. But it's a pretty cool alternative. Let's talk about some of the really big differences between the 2022 Mercedes-Benz Sprinter and the incoming 2023 Mercedes-Benz Sprinter. And the big change is really the power plant. So for the previous model year, you could get both gasoline and diesel options. The gasoline engine is remaining the same. However, the diesel engine option is entirely new. So the old one used an engine called the OM642. OM stands for oil motor, or German essentially for diesel. And the 642 was a 3-liter V6 turbo diesel. Well, this new engine is called the OM654, and it's a 2-liter diesel, so it's gone down in displacement. It has also gone down in cylinders. So this is an inline 4-cylinder engine versus the outgoing V6, but power is up in a pretty big way. So it's gone from 188 horsepower to 211 horsepower, and torque has gone from 325 pound-feet to 332 pound-feet. So this is a more powerful engine despite its smaller size. And then of course it's made into a new transmission. So the outgoing model used a 7-speed. This new model uses a 9-speed automatic, all in pursuit of efficiency, and it's lost the transfer case. So it no longer has the high-low 4-wheel drive system. It is high-range, single-speed 4-wheel drive only. Now it also lost a little bit of weight when they went from single-speed to, when they went from transfer case with 2 ranges to just the single range transfer case. Now this is about as loose and goopy as you're ever gonna see. Of course, this is not meant to be a G-Wagon, right? So we don't have locking disc front and rear. This is still, at the end of the day, a van, or in this case, a chassis cab pickup. However, look at this. Even in these loose conditions, apply a little bit of accelerator. And this is why you want to buy the 4-wheel drive, right? Because in a 2-wheel drive van, you'd be out pushing. But with this new system, we're having no difficulty. Now, the other thing about this all-wheel drive system is it uses a series of clutches, and it can distribute torque front and back as the system sees needed, up to 100% front or 100% rear, depending on conditions, which is a pretty big advancement over the old one. And we're about to go down this pretty steep and loose hill, and we're going to stop and see if we can reverse, which was one of the enemies of the old V6 Sprinter, was kind of moving from a stop, especially backwards. All right, so we're going to click on our DSR, our downhill assist. So we're going to come to a stop here on this muddy hill, and then I'm going to stick her into reverse really quick. Let's see, can it do it? So, oh, what a difference. Yeah, really big difference. So slow speed power delivery immediately is substantially different than the previous generation. So we didn't really get a big chance to kind of test some of the articulation or some of the additional four-wheel drive because it was so wet and muddy out here. But I can say at least just because we lost the transfer case doesn't mean that we lose the low speed torque modulation of the Sprinter. Pretty cool stuff. All right, well, let's go ahead and take a look at the inside of the 2023 Mercedes-Benz Sprinter, because there are a number of changes to the inside as well. So all Sprinters come standard with push button start. The vehicle will glide into life. Let's go ahead and turn that audio system down. And speaking of the audio system, we've got the newest generation of MBUX in these models, available in a couple of different screen sizes. Now, this vehicle is quite well equipped, so there are a number of things to look at in here, features-wise. So first of all, you can get the Sprinter. It comes standard with cruise control. You can also get it with adaptive cruise control, lane keeping assist, these kind of features. Now, the steering wheel is this beautiful leather design, feels really good, very similar to the steering wheels you'll find in the passenger models, which is great. You got these little touch pads here, which can control the center screen, and then this right one will actually control the MBUX system there. You also have volume knob here to turn the volume up and down, as well as a volume toggle here. Very simple, very easy to use. Now, the Sprinter is known, of course, for its practicality and versatility, and we certainly see that here on the inside. We've got more storage in this vehicle than just about anything else. So first of all, we've got these nice large bins above the driver and the passenger head with an extremely large visor, which folds down like such. Now, the 2023 Sprinter is also available with a digital rearview mirror, which is fantastic if you have the cargo model and you want to see out the rear. It's a really, really, really nice feature. I'm glad that's made its way into the Sprinter van. You can also get it with automatic climate control. You can also get it with heated seats like this one has. So it's quite a nicely equipped van. Now, of course, the interior materials are not nearly as nice as like you know, Mercedes passenger car, but of course this is a commercial model. Once again, with the storage there in front of both the driver and the passenger. Big bins down here, little cubbies for your phone. We also have a couple of USB-C ports in here, a little bin down here for the owner's manual. Now, the seats are fantastic. This is a vehicle designed for work use. Mercedes knows that folks are going to spend many, many hours behind the wheel of a Sprinter, and as such, the seats are, in this case, cloth lined, but very comfortable and very supportive for longer trips. And these captain's chairs also have these height adjustable armrests. Now, another nice touch is we have a little bit of a padded material here for your left arm, which is quite good. And all the touch points, the places that really matter, have a nice quality feeling to them. All right, well, let's go ahead and take the Mercedes-Benz Sprinter for a drive with this new 2-liter turbocharged diesel engine. Now, I've spent a lot of time in the previous power plant Sprinter in both 2-wheel drive and 4-wheel drive configuration, and I know that engine quite well, so I'm excited to see how this new 4-cylinder compares on road, because of course that's where your Sprinter is going to spend the majority of the time. Now, of course, there are both 2-wheel drive and all-wheel drive Sprinter configurations for 2023, and one change is that now you can get the chassis cab Sprinter in all-wheel drive in the States, which is fantastic, and that's what we're driving today. Now, it's not going to drive all that differently, I'd suspect, from the passenger or the cargo model, but because it's new, I thought we'd give it a quick spin here. Now, pulling out onto this German road, let's see how the initial torque delivery is from this 2-liter turbo on the pavement, because that was one of the big criticisms I had with the old 3-liter diesel, is that there's quite a bit of lag before you actually got any real performance. This new model, immediately quicker, significantly quicker off the line, and you can really tell that that first gear ratio is a lot shorter than the older model. So it quickly gets into second gear, but you get this nice push right off the line. Now, in terms of passing performance, let's slow down here a little bit so we don't get a nice fat German ticket. Quick downshift there, and then we get max peak torque, felt right around 2,000 RPM is where things really picked up. So this engine is much more responsive than the outgoing 3-liter V6 turbo diesel. Now, overall, the Sprinter drives pretty similarly than the outgoing model, except for the steering. We now have electric power steering, and it feels a lot lighter than the outgoing one, which is great for long distance driver fatigue. But it's a Sprinter van, which is certainly probably my favorite van currently on the market in the States. You got fantastic view out the side of the van, fantastic view out the front. It's a very simple vehicle to drive. It really rides quite nice. It's quite comfortable, and it's just such a solid, potent platform, both in terms of performance and usability. Really is a good little van. So I think there will be several people out there which are going to mourn the loss of the old school four-wheel drive Sprinter with that button to engage low range and four-wheel drive, right? But this new model is much more usable for most folks on a daily basis due to that full-time all-wheel drive system. There's nothing you have to engage. It's always on. It's always ready to go. And I do have to say, based on this new powertrain and transmission calibration, I think that this vehicle is probably going to be better in the snow and acclimate conditions compared to the previous model. Now, the previous model had like a 35% torque split to the front, 65 rear. This one is extremely variable and changes all the time depending on road conditions and depending on where the power split needs to go. And that really is going to be practical for a lot of folks that aren't looking to necessarily overland their Sprinter vans, but just use it in the snow and in the ice and in poor conditions, which is really where the Sprinter shines. Now, I think a lot of people look at these vans, these lifted Sprinter vans, and think, oh, that's the ultimate off-roader. They've never really been that good off-road. This is not a platform designed to go do the Rubicon Trail, and when you start lifting them and putting big tires on, they're better on dirt roads and maybe light trails, but they're still just not ultimate performers. The way to buy a Sprinter, in my mind, is to get the four-wheel drive, or in this case, the all-wheel drive one, leave the suspension the same, don't go for much larger tires. This thing already has plenty of ground clearance. Just stick a more meaty tire on there and enjoy the capability that Mercedes intended out of this vehicle, because what you're dealing with is essentially a large, tall vehicle with a high center of gravity. It's never intended really to articulate very well over rocks and boulders, and when people try to do that, that's when they run into issues with the Sprinter platform. This is kind of how Mercedes intended the Sprinter, right? They put a lot of engineering and design into making sure that the vehicle is good both on-road and off-road out of the box, so leave it this way. You're really not going to make it that much better. Now, the low range was a huge necessity in the old Sprinter because of that super laggy power delivery with that OM642 V6 turbo diesel. This model feels significantly more responsive even without the low range. So I think that this is probably going to be a better performer overall. It's a much more cohesive package. It's going to do the same dirt roads, the same light trails that you would have done with the old one, but it's much better on road. I'm going to say that right now. The starting price on the 2023 Sprinter in cargo form, right around $43,000. In this chassis cab model, right around $44,000, just a tick under $44,000. So options and accessories, right, it goes up quickly from there. So it is not the most affordable van on the market, but with the Mercedes, you pay for quality and performance, and I think that this new Sprinter delivers both of those in spades. Now, the one I would get is basically exactly what we are driving right now. I would get the all-wheel drive in this chassis cab model, which is new for 2023. I would stick a flatbed on there and then enjoy the acres of space I have in the back compared to what I get in a full-size truck. Now, of course, compared to a full-size truck, it doesn't tow as much. The max tow rating is right around 7,500 pounds, depending on configuration. It certainly isn't as quick as a full-size truck, nor does it handle as well, but it's got a great view out of the world. It's very comfortable, believe it or not, and just a huge amount of space in the back makes this a lot more usable for a lot more things than a full-size truck would be. I know it's kind of unconventional, but in a lot of instances, I would probably take this you know, we're talking full-size trucks now are often $55,000, $60,000, $65,000. So even though the Sprinter is expensive relative to some full-size, it's not that expensive compared to all of them. And it's just such a unique perspective of the world driving the van. I love being able to see over everything and have such a fantastic driving experience. And now with all-wheel drive, you can drive this thing in the snow more easily than the old one. And you know, you do sacrifice some towing compared to a full-size truck, but believe it or not, this is how I would probably buy my van. Just like this. Pretty wild, right? Well guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I had a ton of fun making it. As always, this has been Tommy with TFL Truck and TFL Off-Road. We'll see you on the next video.